friends, this is Grace and welcome to my channel. And we are on the home stretch for this particular series, and this is a homemade scrapbook kit series that I put together. Basically, I created 10 layouts with a set of products that I have pulled out from my stash. So because this is the 10th, I am running out of papers, and I'm showing you, well, I showed you the papers that I have left over. And I don't know if you remember, but in the homemade kit that I put together, I actually put a foam background stamp that's for the roses, and then also a die that is kind of flower set. And so I decided that I was going to make some backgrounds with that. So I just stamped that on white cardstock, and then basically I'm going to use that as my background piece. This is also going to be kind of a collage type of layout where I'm going to place my photos first where I want it, and then fill the rest of the spaces with pattern paper. This is really good, again, because we don't have a lot of papers anymore, and if we know that our photos are going to go in one place, there's no need to put the papers on the back side of that, because it's not even going to show. So I'm using a white cardstock from my stash here, and then I have this paper, this cardstock that I used for another layout. And I was going a little, not crazy, but well, I was getting a little tired. I'm just going to be honest. I was getting a little tired with the scallop that I had pulled out. So I went with my tried and true, and that is this kind of just closed scallop, and it's just so much easier to use it. So I went with that. Now I did kind of pre-prep this just because I didn't have a lot of supplies anymore. So I was actually, designing the layout as I went, as I was pulling products for it. So some, like, the titles was already set, and then some of the papers that I knew I was going to use was already kind of pulled out. So this is the rose background stamp that I told you about. I just stamped that, and I think that is kind of a red ink. And then I'm going to try to see if I have some more papers that I can use for background, but they're just not enough as far as size is concerned to make it, or to use it. I mean, I guess I could use this brown one, but it's just not working, because then I have to find another one to go on the bottom. Now if I was really like wanting to use all of the pattern papers, I could just use, I could just collage it, right? Like just kind of butt them next to each other. But I did have all of these papers that I tried to use for that flower, so I'm flower stamp, so I'm going to use that one. I used the purple one on the top left, or top right, sorry, this kind of mint green on the bottom right, and then the red one on the bottom. And I just like the cohesiveness that brings as well. So I'm just going to trim that off, because I just used some white cardstock scraps, and then I'm just going to trim them off, because when I stamped it, I didn't know what I was going to use it for, which is good, because then you can trim it as you go. But now I'm thinking that this main photo, which is a 4x6, needs to be matted in some way in order for it to stand out against all of the blocks of paper there. So I am going to grab that brown paper. I'm going to trim my 4x6, because I know that that space is only going to fit a 4x6. So I'm going to trim it a little bit, so that my my brown paper will be 4x6, and then that will go nesting inside of it. So speaking of photos, these photos are of a hike that we did in 2019. The school just ended. It was like in the beginning of June, and my husband had a day off, and everybody was home because there's no more school. And so we decided that we were going to go on a hike. And this hike, I know you've seen this before, because this is one of our favorite local hikes. It's called Seven Bridges, where you walk. It's an out and back type of hike, and you basically pass through 7 little wood bridges, because it goes through a creek. The water goes from, the top of the mountain, and then it goes down. And so we have to go through these bridges. And this is one of our favorite hikes, because my little one can handle it. It's not so hard. I mean, there's parts there where it's, it gets really steep, but it's not that hard for him, and he anticipates, or he gets really excited about the going through the bridges, because each bridge has a little metal number on the bridge, so then you can count down. And so he likes that because he looks forward to knowing that, oh, we're on the fifth bridge. That means that we have two more bridges, and then we get to the end of it. So we like that. And then I also like it because there's a lot of trees on the throughout the trail, and so we're covered. We don't have to put too much sunscreen on if it's hot, and it just covers us up, so we like that. The only thing about it is that if it's like in the spring, we don't really do this hike because it's still up in the mountains. There's still a lot of ice on the trail itself. We did it one time before spring break, and I almost hurt my back, slipped and hurt my back because it was very slippery. So I've just always had a mental note that if I want to do this hike, it's going to be in the summertime and not in the springtime. Anyways, I had some more of those leftover um, cut apart sheets, and they are the tag parts, and so I cut out some of the tags, and then I am going to use that on as a design on the top block of my layout. And then I also have this let's celebrate, and I'm just going to add that. Now this is not going to be my title. I've already picked out my title, but I figured, you know what, this is the last layout of the kit, so why not just kind of just spread them all there, because it's the last one. And also, I don't know if I've already said it in the beginning of this video, but stay tuned at the very end of this video because I'm going to show you what was left after I made my 10 layouts, and also kind of an overview of the layouts that I made. And also there's a little bonus at the end. So make sure that you stay tuned at the end of this layout. So now it's time for me to adhere this. And because these are small little pieces, and it's a block type of design, I want them to be butted next to each other, and I wanted them to be as cohesive as possible. I'm going to bring out my T-square ruler, and I'm going to make sure that I put them, align them next to, or align them to each other so that they all look one complete whole once they're put together. And so I have 4 vertical photos here, and then again my 4x6 that I trimmed a little bit smaller in order for me to mat it. And then I'm just adhering all of the little details that I have already cut out. I'm using my We Are memory hole puncher in order for me to create those holes in the center of my tags. And then I'm going to ink up the edges just because I feel like it needs to stand out against that stamped background. Now, as you can see, one of those tags have a coffee, and my layout has nothing to do with coffee or drinks, and that's okay with me because I am going to tuck that underneath the main photo, so it's not even going to show. But I am going to use that block of paper because it has lines. I felt like it will be perfect for my handwritten journaling. It seems like I have been doing handwritten journaling for a lot of my layouts with this particular homemade kit, and that's kind of a difference from the ones that I have done previously, because previously I would actually go and type up my journaling and print it out. But it's always nice to kind of do things a little bit differently, a little a few times, just to kind of make it fresh, or make it not so boring because it's always the same thing over and over again. So I've decided, I was toying between either the brown cardstock side or the blue cardstock side for my matting. I really like the brown, but I just felt like the brown was a little too dark, especially with the photos with the greenery in the background. It was already dark, and so I felt like it wouldn't make it stand out. And so I went with the blue one. I don't know. Let me know in the description box below. Should I have gone with the brown one, or this blue one was the better choice for matting my photo? Now that happy chipboard is from a thicker set, and it did rip, so but it's okay because I'm just going to just glue that with some liquid glue, and then I'm also going to put a block on top of that just so that it will stick. And then I did have, I don't know if you remember, but there were these black letters that I'd cut out from my silhouette. And I was running out of letters, but I think I can manage to put the word hike. So it's going to be, the title will be Happy Hike. But since that chipboard is still drying, I'm going to move to a different spot of my layout. And I really like this design for, like, especially for scraps, because I feel like you're treating it like a project life kind of layout, where you're doing it one block at a time. So that's kind of nice because you can treat each block as its own little um, design block. Like you can like do little things here and there, and create little collages. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I like this design. It really lends itself for the photos that I had, the orientations that the photos had, but also with the little bits and pieces that I have left over for this particular kit. And notice that I'm using the last of those flare badges, and that really makes me happy. So to kind of, um, even though each of the blocks have its own design or little embellishments there, I am connecting them all with that strip of red paper. So you can see that red paper kind of spread all over those three blocks, which is also, again, my visual triangle. I say this all the time, but you know how sometimes I have to explain my little design process for those that are new to my channel, or are new to scrapbooking, or new to this kind of creating. I also have that circle paper on the bottom that was left over from another layout. And then also that bird, I think that was the last one of my enamel, or yes, my enamel or puffy. It's not enamel, it's not epoxy, it's puffy, Grace. So that was my last one. And then I am going to finish it off with some of these enamel dots. Now these dots, I don't know, for some reason I forgot that I had it. I should have used it in my previous layout, but it was covered in my container. I don't know why I didn't pull it out. But so I have some leftovers of this when I finished my layout, but when I finished my kit, but it's okay. Enamel dots are something that you can use over and over again, so I'm not too worried about that. So this is the layout, my friends. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Now this is my video showing all of the leftovers. I did play around with that dye, the flower dye, but I ended up not using any of it in this layout. This is the leftover chipboard. I do have a lot more letter stickers. I never use this stencil. I'm not a stencil kind of girl right now. I do have them, but they're not, I don't know, I don't feel like using them. I have those Dad and Friends I still haven't used. And then I have just a little bit more of these stickers. Of course, they're going to go back in my stash. These are the only leftover papers that I have. As you can see, there's not a lot of pattern papers, which makes me really happy. That means that I utilized the products that I have pulled out for this particular kit. This is layout number 1. Layout number 2, and all of these have process videos, so if you haven't watched all of them, make sure to check them out in the playlist. And these are just all of the layouts that I have. I did pull out those flowers from my stash. I felt like it needed it in my layouts. These are some of the stars. I never really added any stars after that, but just lots of papers. I used a lot of sketches for these layouts, and so it helped me to use up a lot of those papers. I feel like that's one thing that I was able to, reasons for me to be able to maximize my papers, was that I was using sketches. And these are the bonuses. I made 4 cards with the leftovers. So that is my completed homemade scrapbook kit. I hope that you guys were inspired. Watch out for the next series in this in my channel, and please go ahead and subscribe and like this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.